name's Ray Degley, and I'm a PT and bike fitter for Kinetic Energy PT. We're going to continue our bike fitting with Marie. Now we're going to start with the actual bike fitting itself. We got to look at great motion analysis and get a good idea of where Marie's at, just position on the bike. Now we're going to actually make some of these changes and get her feeling really comfortable. What we want to look at is that transition point when she gets to the very bottom of her pedal stroke and as she starts to come back up. Now, for her, right as she goes to do that, let's slow it down a little bit. She's about here. Dead bottom center for her is literally at this point. So you can see the crank is just a little bit at an angle. It's not pointed straight down. When I look at her angle, what I'm doing is I'm matching up the ankle bone here, the center of her knee, and then I'm also looking at the hip as well, the greater trochanter. And so when I do, we get a measurement roughly about 45 degrees. You know, when I say approximately, I'm looking between, maybe 30, 35 degrees for her, because we don't want to make a huge change. We want her to be comfortable on the bike. And as she gets more fit and used to the positioning, we can always make more adjustments and make her a little bit more aggressive on the bike. The next measurement that we're going to look at is just kind of where her knee position is over her pedal. I like that crank to be right around that 9 o'clock position there. And all I'm going to do is just see, hey, I'm going to take it to the very bottom of the patella here, and we're going to just drop this plumb line and just kind of see, hey, where is she at? Now, if this is the center of the pedal, you can kind of see that, she is just a little bit forward. With some of the adjustments that we're going to make with raising the saddle, that is essentially going to push her back a little bit. It'll actually increase her reach. So, it's going to still keep her pretty close to, that knee around the center of that pedal. So, I'm really happy with the way that looks. If you were to think about, maybe jumping, or exploding a movement on the ground, you're going to explode from the ball of your foot. We just have such a good anchor when it comes to the ball of the foot, right at the base of that first metatarsal there. So when I think about pedaling, it's like we want to optimize the position so that we can generate as much force through the foot. I get to the base of the fifth metatarsal, which is right around here. And what you can see is that, she's just a little bit in front of the pedal, which is great because the way that the foot is, it's a little different than the hand because, with the hand, our metacarpals go straight across. But with the foot, they're angled. Ultimately, what we want to see is that, hey, if the pedal is right here, I want her to be a little bit forward on kind of this one part and a little bit back behind the center of the pedal on the other. I just want to see with her leg just resting down in a natural position as I go up to draw her ankle into a little bit of dorsiflexion or just getting her like she would be on the pedal. What I want to see is, okay, what's her natural position as I put her foot into neutral? Does she splay out naturally or does she draw in? I mean, she has a pretty nice, efficient position, and I think that's optimal for where this pedal is. If she was on her gravel bike and just making sure that she can get on and off the bike easily, we want to make sure, hey, can she clip in and out well? How's the resistance of that float? But does the float also give her enough room to be in that position she likes to be in? She's a little bit, turned out, and it's just, a few degrees, not excessive, but does the float optimize that? If we were to draw a straight line through the hips and follow her torso all the way up to her neck, you can see that she's actually at about a 55-degree angle, almost 60 degrees. So again, we want her to be comfortable, but we also want her to be in a little bit more optimal position on the bike. Getting her a little bit forward will actually help to generate a little bit more power even through the glutes. The next measurement I'm going to look at is shoulder angle. And again, this is just to see, hey, where is her shoulder and her arm position in relationship to her torso? Some of the problems that start to happen is as this angle right here starts to get bigger, she starts reaching more forward. Go ahead and go forward here. And you can see what ends up happening is the stability starts to be challenged. And she's actually having to use a lot of muscle to even just be in this position. So Like I said, as that angle starts to get really wide or gets larger, that's when we start to kind of see some problems occur, especially over a long period of time on the bike. So right now she's got about a 70-degree angle. And again, we're looking between anywhere from 70 to 90 degrees and just more so what's comfortable for her. So I just did a quick adjustment and I raised Marie's saddle up about almost 2 centimeters. One of the things whenever we make an adjustment, it's like we want to go through, kind of the different body parts that we had looked at initially. And, do we see any changes in her foot and ankle? Is she starting to, maybe bend that ankle more because she doesn't like that height? But it doesn't look like it's changed at all. So I'm happy with how that's stayed. Just by raising that saddle, that knee angle has changed. And she went from being, upwards to 40 plus degrees. And now we're actually at almost a 35 to 33 degrees. Think about, if you're changing your tire on your car, you got a wrench. You need a long wrench. Like if you had a short wrench, you can't produce enough power. As you lengthen that wrench arm, you could actually produce enough power to change that. And that's the same thing on the bike. If her knee is so bent, that shortens her lever arm. And so she's not going to be able to produce as much power, but as we can lengthen it enough in a safe position, she's going to really be able to optimize her performance, especially her power on the bike. I wanted to see in space, where is she at, especially with her knee over her pedal. I mean, she's still really in a nice place where, she can produce power through that pedal. As we raised the saddle, essentially we drew her back. And I really liked the knee angle that she was at. We just looked at the knee over pedal spindle, and she's still in a really nice place where that knee is positioned just generally around that pedal, so she can still produce enough power. We had some options. This bike has so much adjustability, which is great. I didn't want to do a ton of adjustments as you would if you were to have like a stem or something. But what I did is, I actually dropped the position here of the cockpit, the whole thing. Because that is, in a sense, going to drop her. It's going to change her torso angle. And by dropping it too, it actually kind of lengthened her a little bit. I love her elbows. She's got this just natural slight bend to them, and that's what we want to see. That just shows comfort. With that saddle, it's pointed upwards a little bit. So what we want to do is maybe make it a little bit more neutral, or just have a slight downward trend to that nose of the saddle. We just made just a little adjustment on the saddle. So like we were talking and we had filmed before, that saddle nose was just slightly up. I think some of it is going to be accommodating to the position. So what we'll do is we'll just leave this position as it is. I'm going to take a few other measurements as far as torso angle and shoulder angle goes, but I really like this. And I think as she starts to kind of get used to the position, she'll feel like, okay, this is the new for me. So now we're going to look at torso angle. We had drawn the saddle back, and with essentially raising the saddle, we drew the saddle back. So that's going to give her a little bit more reach. What I also did with the cockpit is I dropped it down, so that'll also bring her torso angle down. So now as we look at her, go ahead, you can stop pedaling there for just a second, Marie. Good. So now as we look at her torso angle, we just gained, now we're in the 40s, which is great, almost, maybe like 47 or 48 degrees, which she was in the 50s, almost 60 degrees. So she was quite a bit upright. And so now she's drawn forward. We're getting her used to being in a little more aero position, and that's going to lend itself nice when she starts training more. If she's got a rainy day, she can hop on this and feel comfortable on the bike. We're really happy with just her position in general on the bike. Her elbows are really in a nice place. She's not locked out. She just looks comfortable. Her shoulders aren't elevated. So now we just look at the shoulder angle just to kind of see. She's really darn close, right around like, maybe 105. So I like the position. I think that 5 degree, will be fine, and we'll kind of check back with her to see if that's something that, it still feels good and feels comfortable.